it the same as we used to. So with going from 50 to 60 now, full disclaimer, in there you had 2 4-year-old children.
No, they were 0 when they were born.
Well, right, they were born at 4. Let's get our math straight. Well, wouldn't that be easier if they could be, though? No. It would hurt more. But,
not me.
So at 56, you had 2 4-year-olds.
Yeah, and it seemed like a great idea at the time. It really did. And I really...
Like buying a boat.
And I was really... it's a long story. I was expecting 1. We have 2, but that's okay. And...
you got to have 3.
My wife's still trying to... she's a little younger than I am, so... A little. So, she keeps talking about 3, and I keep talking about extra hinges on the box, because all you're going to hear, if you tell me you're pregnant, all you're going to hear me go is into the box. But, you were talking about dumbing things down, and I just had this discussion with a very, very intelligent woman that runs a good portion of Mainline Health. And she was telling me that there was just a study done that says that because of the GPSs as far as directions, our minds, when I don't have the right terminology, but there is a part of our brain that directions are tied to. And without us ever actually looking at maps and figuring out how to get from point A to point B, this part of our mind, whatever it's called, is going...
it's dying off like a muscle.
She called it gray matter. Yeah. She said it's just turning into gray matter. And I worry about that. I worry about the fact that we have all these tools that, let's say that we lost power for 2 days. What would happen? I don't think the average person's ready to lose power for 2 days. I don't think they'd know what to do. I'm going next door.
I worked in an internet provider at the beginning of personal internet, and when we'd have an outage, people would lose their minds, and they weren't as dependent on it as they are now. And if we have the problem is people don't understand. We don't even use, there's words, and I want to do a show one day about words we don't use anymore. And one of my favorites is inconvenience. Nobody ever says that, because everything that happens to them has to be so over the top. And there's a lot of inconveniences. The internet being down should be an inconvenience. You should be able to work out how to get your motor coach from point A to point B, and not be found scrounging for twigs and berries, because the internet went down for 12 hours and you're trapped.
Yeah, I think they still sell maps. I just don't know where.
I still carry the laminated Franklin maps in the car because, sometimes, and I got to say, for the most part, I don't go places I don't know how to go or have gone already, because, I've been there before. But what happens is, and the one thing I do still do, and that everybody should do, is before you go on that GPS journey, look at the map first. Just get an idea so you have an overview of it. Because what has always been my weakness is developments, cul-de-sacs, things that's where my body will be found. I get lost in cul-de-sacs, and when people start to just ignore the logical sequence of numbering of residences, that's when I get lost. For years when I was on the ambulance, I would just curse at people that did not have the numbers on their houses, and we'd tell them, turn on the porch light, come outside, dude, help us help you. There's so many people, and now people are taking the numbers off their houses. I deal with this now because it's a privacy concern. That you really think taking those 4 digits off your house is going to stop Big Brother?
Big Brother, there's a whole nother topic.
Well, you're in a Big Brother business.
I am, but not really.
You can tell how long I looked at a picture of a dog, of a girl, of a car, of a tool on your site. That's a little Big Brotherish.
Yeah, there's a lot of Big Brother. I mean, it's kind of amazing that large media houses are so lost, because I just think it's because there's so much data out there, they don't know what's important.
What do you mean?
Well, for example, that you just said I could tell how long you looked at a picture.
Right.
Well, if that picture represents something, which it should, and there's something comes along similar, and I can replicate that, I want to do that because I know that you're going to get on that picture or a series of pictures, and you're going to spend X amount of time, and then the system's also, Google, whoever, is also going to say, when you left that picture, here's where you went, if it's within our site. And if it's not within our site, then I can't tell you that other than you left.
How can that, in the purest form, how can that be used for pure evil?
Oh, there's so many ways. Prime example. Every story we write, I look at the next day to see how many people looked at it. It was a really slow news day, and I don't remember if it was a weekend or whatever it was, but there was a food recall of a type of flour. In fact, it was called King Arthur's flour. Now, I've never heard of King Arthur's flour, but they sell it in the stores in our territory. So I put this 3-paragraph thing up about I forget who recalled it, the FDA or whoever, or self-recall, I forget. It received so many clicks that it was insane. I mean, thousands of clicks on a story that took me minutes to write. And then if I sit down and write one like I wrote in that story where you and I first met, nobody might read it because it's just insane.
Why do you think they clicked on King Arthur?
I gotta tell you, I think about King Arthur, and I really don't know why. At the same time that King Arthur was being
devoured,
I was going to say deflowered or flowered, F-L-O-U-R. There was a very large house fire. The house fire, which I had great pictures and a great story. I had a lot of pictures, and the average person stayed on the house fire story, and this was $1 million loss and all that stuff, so it was big, for, say, 2 minutes. They stayed on the King Arthur's story, which was only 200 words, for 1.5 minutes. I wondered what they did in that 1.5 minutes. But that's what's amazing to me.
Was it the size?
No, because the only picture, what we call art, graphics or art, that we had was I went to the FDA site and got a picture of the bag of flour. So it was an empty flour bag on a floor was the picture. Not what I would call very attracting. I literally don't know. But the fire pictures, I mean, they were awesome. The guys going in and out of the buildings, I had fire under one guy's foot because I was in the right place at the right time. I mean, these were very, very dramatic pictures. And I think I had 10 of them in the story. So for something that 200 words versus probably 1,200 words and 10 pictures had half the time of people online. I don't know.
That's interesting. I was a magician for a while.
I still think you're a magician.
And I would do these. I would come up with these illusions that I thought were great. I mean, just miracles. And I'd get to the end and they go, "That's neat. Some kind of trick." Well, yeah, it's some kind of a trick. But then, if you can make foam bunnies appear out of your hand, people clap like it's saving lives. and it's I did all this work in this thing, but then I do the bunnies and they're like, they love it. It's like you do all this work on this house fire, and then you have King Arthur, and people just are all over it. You know,
I couldn't believe it.
Sometimes my ability to know, because, and I accepted that in magic, that what I think is good, the public does not. They want to eat a different food or something. They don't share my views on this. And I have to accept that. And that's part of getting older, is you accept that a lot of things aren't designed for you. Television commercials clearly are not designed for me anymore. I do not understand them. You know, if you stop a commercial and at the end and say, what was that for? It was either a pickup truck, jeans, a music channel, a cologne, or a beer. Not sure, because I don't know anymore. Although those ones where they say, do you have back pain? I perk up and lean into them now. Or where they show those snazzy bathtubs that have the doors like boats. I go, why don't all bathtubs have doors?
You know, I'm still trying to buy some Doan's pills. I just can't find those back pills anywhere.
Not anymore. The do you think, have you ever taken a story, looked at it somewhere in its lifespan, saw a response to something, and tweaked it?
Yes. But before I tell you that, I'm going to have to tell you this, and you're going to have to remind me to tell you that, because it's 30 seconds is going to be gone. But
I'm going to write a note to remind
that King Arthur story, and the house fire, the following week, Pillsbury flower, a version of it. Apparently, Pillsbury has a ton of different flowers. One of them was recalled, and I looked at that and went, this is great. This is like a gift from heaven. I'm going to get 4,000 people clicking on this story, and then they're going to see another story, and they're going to go read that, and 380 people. So tell me, why did King Arthur get thousands and Pillsbury get 380? And I think I did a better job on the Pillsbury story, because I actually went to one of the local stores and showed them a picture of it. I said, you guys have this on the shelves? And then they told me, we took them off and all that. But I'm thinking, I can't even count on the flour to bring in another couple thousand.
Right.
There is no rhyme or reason.
I was supposed to remind you of something. I didn't write it down.
Oh, yeah. It's 30 seconds, and I don't remember what the heck it was. But, hey, oh, well. Sorry.
It'll come
here
back.
Today, gone tomorrow.
So there's no rhyme or reason to it, and I see that with, in some ways I see that with missing person cases, where you put a picture up and there is some rhyme or reason. It's wrong, but there's some attractive people get more hits. They just do, nobody's,
I believe that.
Yeah, nobody's looking for Quasimodo Wilson. It just isn't happening the same. If you're lost, you need to have, these names have this color eyes, this color hair, and preferably, I always say that to, it's against, and people say, oh, that's not true. It is. It's against. It goes for what we're visually attracted to. It just is. I see that in missing person cases all the time. Not that it warrants it, but it's what happens. And I tell everywhere, if you're not that attractive and you get lost, you better have a puppy with you. You better have something if you want that story to get legs, because they just don't get them the same. We respond to different things. And for that reason, in many ways, I think that some stories omit the picture. Just leave the picture off. It doesn't play a part in the beginning of the story.
But you see, if you don't put the picture in, Google penalizes you. Google wants the picture. Why it's so important to them, I don't know. But if I run two identical stories and I put one with a picture or what we call art or graphic, whatever, and the same story without it, no. The one with the picture is going to be the only one that you can find.
Interesting.
It's amazing. It's the art. And when we first started, people would say, well, I'll give you an example. A woman and a man had a domestic dispute, and there was alcohol involved. And make a long story short, she stabbed him.
Who hasn't had that happen?
Yeah, I mean, come on. Yeah, that happened to me last night. But at any rate,